gives me great pleasure to welcome everybody to our 9th episode of Kazzie Connect on this Remembrance Day 2021. My name is Lena Coates and I'm Secretary of the KAV and a committee member, and I'm responsible for its operations and also some major events, the KOY and also the KC series. Tonight, we are absolutely thrilled to have Pella. Pella, put your hand up. There she is. Hello. As our guest speaker. She'll be in conversation with Frida Miraclis, and it gives me great pleasure to warmly welcome the COS Club, Neos Cosmos, and the Greek Herald, the KAV members and dear friends. Welcome to you all. Now, before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. As always, this is recorded, so if you don't want your face to appear, just click the little video that says stop video there and your face won't appear. Make sure that you've got your mute on while the session's in process. And again, that's the little microphone there on the left-hand side. And during the session, if you want to ask any questions at all, just raise your hand and Frida will try to get around to everyone. But of course, at the end, we'll have our Kazzie connection as well. So, and we'll have question time as well. So what I'll do now is I'd like to introduce you to our guest host, Frida Miraclis. Now, Frida serves with me on the committee and she is our KOY for 2019. In her spare time, she's the director of the Hellenic Initiative, THI Australia, and is the founding director and chair of the Commonwealth Business Women's Network, the only accredited organisation focused on the economic empowerment of women and girls, recognised in 54 governments across 6 continents. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you now, Frida. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lena, and welcome everybody. Great to see so many lovely faces. Γεια σας και καλώς ήρθατε στην εκδήλωσή μας εδώ απόψε. So thank you, everyone. This is our very much anticipated conversation with Pelagia Markogiannakis. Great to see so many Kazzies, Greek patriots and Philhellenes joining us here tonight, some for the very first time, so a warm welcome. Well, the conversation with Pella tonight will be playing a collage of her career highlights, and we'd very much like to hear from you. Hear your thoughts, any comments or feelings that these images may evoke, and really encourage you to use the chat function to dialogue with us tonight. So get ready to engage and be part of the conversation. If there was a mission to sum up Pella's life, it would be to not merely survive, but to thrive. Indeed, Pella has thrived over the decades in industries where she has served as a trailblazer, showing what is possible in the utilities, petrochemicals, transport, health infrastructure and defence sectors, earning her the formidable role as trusted advisor alongside CEOs, executive teams and international boards. As one of our nation's first ever women engineers to serve on our warships, she has really paved the way for thousands of young women to have made a career serving our defence forces today. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "You must do the things that you cannot do." And as you'll see tonight, this humble Greek Australian has done exactly that in what can only be described as a highly accomplished career, where responsibility was thrusted upon her when, under the age of 30, she was accountable for the refitting of Australia's ships deployed for the Gulf War, to building the SAP infrastructure system for the Australian Energy Regulator, to overseeing what grew to some $850 million of capital works at the Melbourne Airport. Pella has served a life of accomplishment, and as a member of our Greek Australian community, we have much to be proud of. And believe me when I say that this only touches the surface of this extraordinary woman's career's highlights. There really is no stopping Pella And after having accepted a directorship with Amazon Web Services just a couple of months ago, she now leads the infrastructure operations for one of the world's largest multinationals. And you'll hear about what it means to Pella to be Greek, as she shares her very own Greek stories that will inspire us as part of the global Greek diaspora. For now, I'd like to invite Pella to read the ode in Greek, and for us, or for you all, to then join us immediately thereafter by pausing for a moment as we present the Royal Australian Navy reading of the Naval Ode for Remembrance Day 2021.
Thank you, Freda. Καλησπέρα σας. Δεν θα γεράσουνε όπως εμείς γερνούμε. Η ηλικία δεν θα τους ταλαιπωρήσει, ούτε τα χρόνια θα τους καταδικάζει. Όταν βασιλεύσει ο ήλιος και με την αυγή θα τους θυμόμαστε, για να μην ξεχάσουμε.
They have no grave but the cruel sea.
No flowers lay at their head.
A rusting hulk is their tombstone.
A fast on the ocean bed.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old.
Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning,
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. Pella, it's great to have you with us. Welcome.
Thanks, Freda. It's great to be here. Hello, everybody.
Now, listen, what sort of feelings does the Naval Ode conjure for you? And I hear that Remembrance Day this morning started in the very early hours.
Yeah, look, it always makes me feel teary and I always want to cry. But I suppose the most important thing to know is today we commemorated Remembrance Day, which is also known as Armistice Day. But in America, it's called Veterans Day. And my day started today with the Amazon women veterans in America and to commemorate Veterans Day. And it was just wonderful. You know, there was 2 US jet fighter pilots. There was a UN Marine Corps major. There was a Canadian Army person, and there was an artificial intelligence engineer who's also ex US Army. So it was just inspirational listening to them. It was
What a great lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So Pella, tell us a little bit about the young Pella serving as lieutenant in the Australian Defence Force. You know, what was it like? And what was your most memorable event? I know there are lots of them, but what was your most memorable event?
I think being chosen to go to Gallipoli was one of my biggest events, biggest memories. And then being selected to be the aide-de-camp to the Governor of New South Wales, to His Excellency, who also then was the Governor General, the Administrator of the Commonwealth of Australia. I think those were my big highlights, but I loved working in the shipyards. My mum used to get very annoyed with me because I used to come home in my dirty overalls and I wasn't allowed to sit on any of the furniture whilst I still had grease and oil all over me.
So, hey, listen, there's a really, really good story that you tell about preparing our warships for the Gulf War. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So every day there's an engineering officer on duty, and on the weekend, the Friday night, the engineering officer picks it up and he has it or she has it for the rest of the weekend and then hands it over on the Monday. And the situation was that I was the engineering officer going to be on duty for that weekend. So from the Friday, and I was what they call pick up the weight on Friday night and hand over the weight on Monday morning. Except that I got a phone call from the Chief Staff Officer of Engineering, who was a previous boss of mine, Captain Hellier, and he rings me up and says, "Pella, I need you to come over." to the office. So I went over to his office and I said, sir, am I in trouble? He said, no, you're not in trouble. so that was good. I said, what is it, sir? He goes, I need you to shut the door. Okay, sir, I'm shutting the door. Okay, are you sitting down? Yes, sir, I'm sitting down. He goes, now, on Friday, when you pick up the weight, we have a little bit of a problem. I said, well, what's the problem, sir? He goes, we're going to war on Monday. And I went, excuse me?
What?
We're going to war on Monday. This is the Tuesday. He says, you've got 5 days to prepare the ships. 5 days to prepare the ships to go to war, sir. Yes, you're going to take them to war. When you leave this office, I want you to mobilise. Whatever they need, you go and get it. You put it on. Everything, you know, whatever they want. I went, okay, sir. Okay. Who's paying for what, sir? It doesn't matter. We're going to war on Monday. You just got to get the ships ready. And so we had refitted some of these ships in the past, and we had fitted them for stuff, but they hadn't actually got it because it wasn't in the budget and stuff like that. So literally I could go out and get whatever I needed to put on these ships. So for the next 5 days, I slept under my desk when I slept. And people were all over each other in the ships because it's really crowded, and we're trying to get air supplies in, and you know, there are people trying to run electrical wires, and there are people trying to put in equipment, and there are people trying to put in gunnery systems and combat systems. It was just organized chaos.
So how many ships did you fit, or how many ships were you responsible for in terms of refitting and preparing for the Gulf War?
3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So an old,
those 3?
The first 3. So yeah, we hadn't gone to war yet. So it was the first 3, and we hadn't been to war since, oh gosh, we didn't mobilize for Falklands. So the last war we would have gone to was Vietnam. So we hadn't done it for a while.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, so 3 ships, HMAS Brisbane, I think it was HMAS Sydney or Adelaide, can't remember, it was an FFG, and then it was HMAS Success. Then the problem was HMAS Success wasn't even there. It was only going to arrive on Friday. I already had the other 2 ships, so I could start early, but Success wasn't coming till Friday and had to leave on Monday. So that only had 2 days.
So what do you do in those situations where you just, you know, you've just told, right, this is what's happening, go for it?
You just do it. The Nike principle.
Yeah, okay.
You just get everybody in a room and you start talking about, okay, what are we going to fit? When are we going to fit it? Who's going to do what, where? Try and split up the work so that you haven't got everybody in the same place. Try and get all the equipment that you need. So send a lot of trucks down to the naval stores in Zetland, pick up all the gear, make, you know, just mobilize the civilian fleet. So this is Garden Island on the photo right now. So that was where we did the refit. That's where we did the refits. That's where we prepared the ships. And you can see supply in the middle, 304.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had, and Brisbane's number 41, so there's 2 of them. The Stalwart is 215. She's actually a cruise ship in the Mediterranean these days, so that's interesting. You can see her painted all white. Yeah, you just make sure you've got all the trades, make sure you've got enough stuff for everybody, enough tools, enough equipment, and enough disposable consumable items that you needed, masks, you know, PPE, shoes, overalls, you know, oils, greases, the whole lot, gaskets. You name it.
Pella, I just noticed now that Greek article. Tell us a little bit about, you know, you going on, what was it? Nature's leave, wasn't it? Wasn't
Yeah,
it? Natives leave. Natives leave.
Natives leave.
But
Yeah.
tell us about, you know, the pilots of Pelagia.
Oh, I'll tell you about the Fidel pilots. They're funny.
Oh, here we go.
So let's see, it was a Friday morning, and HMAS Tobruk was sailing on Monday to go to Gallipoli for the 75th anniversary. Now, I had no idea where she was going other than to Gallipoli. So again, Captain rings me, says, ship needs help, ship needs work. I'm sending you to sea. Okay, sir, when? On Monday, but it's Friday, sir. Yeah, you need to pack your bags. You're leaving on Monday. And the first thing you need to do is go down to the health centre and make sure you've got all the vaccinations you need. So go down to the health centre, got 4 vaccines, 2 in each arm. Youch. And made a phone call to my parents. My mum goes, "You're ringing me on a Friday. You only ring on a Wednesday, on a Sunday. What's wrong?" So I said, "I'm coming home this afternoon. I'm coming back on Sunday, and I'm leaving on Monday, and I won't see you for a while." She goes, "What do you mean?" "Mum, my parents are in Melbourne. I'm in Sydney." I said, "I'm going to be gone for 6 months, Mum." She goes, "Then you better come home and see everybody before you leave." So I did. So I got home and we left on the Monday. Yeah, left on the Monday, and we went all the way to Greece and back. It took 6 months, and so what was funny about that was we were coming into Pelagia, and I came off watch. I got out of my dirty overalls, had a shower, put my uniform on, went up to the bridge, and the captain had said to me, "Okay, Pella, call the Piraeus pilots and tell them where we are, ask them where they need us to pick them up so we can get into the port, because you need a pilot." So I get on the, what they call the blower, the microphone, the radio. "Piraeus pilotis in το Αυστραλέζικο πολεμικό πλοίο Tobruk, come in place." And you can hear them in the background. I mean, it's like talking Greek, and they go, "Oh yeah, someone's pulling our leg, Captain must,
Yeah, as if, right?
Pull on a Swifty.
Yeah.
Αυστραλέζικο πολεμικό πλοίο και είναι γυναίκα και μιλάει ελληνικά." Forget it. Someone's actually having a joke at us, right? And I'm thinking, oh God, I don't want the captain to find out. So I get back on the radio and say, "Piraeus pilotis, είναι το Αυστραλέζικο πολεμικό πλοίο Tobruk, come in please, και πρέπει γρήγορα γιατί ο κυβερνήτης μου θα μάθει πως εσείς δεν ξέρετε τι γίνεται." And all of a sudden it's like scramble, 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 and you can hear the microphone being jostled. They gave me the coordinates, and we went to the station to pick them up. Station is in like in the ocean. And I sent off the meteorologist lad from the navigation table to go pick up the pilot from the actual part of the ship and bring him up to the bridge. So he gets up to the bridge, and I introduce myself and then introduce him to the captain, who then introduces him to the navigator, and they start piloting us into Piraeus. Anyway, I go over to the navigation table behind with the Met, and I say, standing there with the Met, and he goes, "Ma'am." I said, "Yes, what's wrong, Met?" He goes, "Ma'am, I had 20 questions bringing that guy up here." I said, "Well, what were the 20 questions?" He said, "How come we had a Greek woman on the ship? What was her job? 20 questions, ma'am. You want to know who you were, where you come from." And what did you say, AB? "I just told him you were our ma'am engineer." And I said, "So what did he say?" He said, "Not possible." I said, what did you say?" He goes, "It's possible. She's been with us for all these months." Okay. And then what happened? "Oh, we got up to the bridge, ma'am, and he stopped asking me questions." I said, "Okay, well, no worries." That was
amazing. Amazing.
They didn't think it was possible for a Greek-speaking woman to be on an Australian warship. Mind you, it sounds a bit absurd when you put it like that.
Another glass ceiling absolutely smashed, Pella. Absolutely smashed. You know what? I just like to pivot back to your childhood. Like most Greek family values, Kazzie's values are so strong that elements of tradition and culture transcend many generations. Now, we have an immense amount of pride in respecting each other. Our heritage and our education are amongst those priorities. What was it like for you? Tell us a little bit about your family and about growing up, Pella. I'm sure we're all going to be able to relate to this. And everybody just, write in the chat, a few of your stories, if anything here resonates with what Pella's telling us. Thanks, Pella.
No worries. Well, I mean, we're a typical Spartan Cretan household, if there is a typical one. It's very volatile in the sense that it's loud and it's noisy and it's crowded.
Oh, we've got that in common.
Yeah. And of course, we all went to Greek school. And Dad had his own business. So, and Dad's English and Mum's English weren't that great, but Dad was a tradesman. He was a pastry and baker. So he had his own businesses. But, you know, as the eldest child, my responsibility was to help with everything. Yeah. So, you know, I would have to translate, Bella, explain. So, okay, Dad, you know, leases, contracts, his paperwork, his bookkeeping, his banking, you know, Dad would give it all to me to do. And there were no calculators in those days. So we used to do a ledger book, and I used to write his checks and stuff like that. So I did that. We went to Greek school, you know, 2 nights a week. Dad was really good. He was extremely egalitarian, my late dad. He took my sister and I aside in our teenage years and said, when you're old enough, you'll need 2 good salaries to raise your family. So you both are going to go to university. So you're both going to study, and you're both going to do the best that you can and get the best jobs that you can so you can support your families. We said, okay, Dad, we didn't know any better. So they really, really valued education, and that was amazing, because there was no book that Dad would say no to for me. I was an avid reader. I'm still an avid reader. So, and I think he was the same for all of us. But we all worked in the bakery 2 days a week. And we did his paperwork, and we went to Greek school, and we played tennis, and he made sure we had really good educations. He sent us to private schools in those days, all 4 of us. Yeah. So if one went, we all went. If one of us learned a musical instrument, 4 of us did it. If one played sport, 4 of us did it. Everything was equal. It didn't matter if we were female or male. It was all equal.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you know, your family. You said that you were the eldest of the siblings. You have you have 2 brothers and 1 sister, and they're all quite accomplished too. I know that your sister has got a remarkable career in New York currently.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit what she's doing.
So Dimitra is in New York. She's been there about 12 years. Before that, she was 4 years in France, in Paris. So Dimitra currently is the Chief People Officer for S&P Global worldwide. So she's, I don't know how many thousands of people report to her.
Wow. So we're talking about the global Standard & Poor's.
Correct.
S&P.
S&P, global S&P. So, so she's in charge of people there. And before that, she was head of people at Estée Lauder Corp, Revlon, Thomson Reuters. She was the number 2 of people at AXA in Paris. Before that, she was the head of people in Melbourne for Nike. So my sister's done everything.
What an amazing career,
And the 2 boys, Manny, my brother, is an engineer, mechanical engineer, and he's run his own businesses. He's mechanical engineer. And Nick, our youngest brother, who's the smartest out of the lot of us, he's a builder. He builds pools around Melbourne.
Wow. There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
So, hey, listen, so Pella, we've just got a couple of questions that I'm fielding in the chat. A few people want to know, did you face any difficulties as a female wanting to join the Navy? That's from Adriana.
It's funny you should say that. So, Adriana, it was really mixed, because Dad was good with it, because we've got military officers permanently in the Greek military. So it wasn't an unusual thought, but yeah, you don't normally get your daughter to ask that question. So Mum wasn't so happy about it, even though she's Spartan. She, you know, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Well, so actually, that kind of lends into Lena's question. And Lena's question was, what did your parents say when you wanted to be an engineer and then wanted to join the Navy? And why? Why was it that you wanted to join the Navy? There you go. There's a few questions for you.
Well, I always wanted to join the Navy. I don't know, the sea calls to me. Maybe it's my name. Pelagia means to live on or by the ocean, so maybe that has something to do with it. Mm-hmm. But I always wanted to join the Navy. I think my sense of adventure was why I wanted to join. I wanted to join as soon as I finished high school, but I was 16. So Dad said, let's make a deal. My dad was good at deals. We made a deal. So the deal was I would go to uni and then I could do whatever I wanted. So that's what we did. I went to
Great
uni.
deal. Great deal, Pella.
Yeah.
So listen, you know what? I think we are family, seriously. And just for our Kazies, because this is Kazzie Connects, we should tell everybody about your association with Michael Michaels over in WA and how that Kazzie adopted you. So you've got Uncle Mick and Auntie Dell over there, who, of course, this is Michael Michaels related to Spiro Moriarty. And you were introduced to them through Admiral Peter Sinclair, the governor of New South Wales.
Yeah, who's on the screen right now. So, I was the ADC to the Governor and Governor General, and that was him there. I love them, Shirley and Peter Sinclair. And basically, the Michaels came to see them very early on in my tenure as ADC, and which means aide de camp in waiting, which means you're always waiting for everybody else, not for yourself. You're always busy. But anyway, so I met them through there, and of course, as soon as they realised I was Greek with my name, we became fast friends. They would come over and visit. We would go over and visit. And then I was going back into the Navy, and Uncle Mick and Auntie Dell insisted I call them Uncle Mick and Auntie Dell. And they decided that they would adopt me. So if the Navy was going to send me to Perth, I was going to become their adopted daughter. And quite often over the next few years when I would visit Perth, I would literally be invited to all the family functions. And they're Castellarisian.
Yes.
And they're a lovely family. And Dr. Spiro Moriartis was my dad's doctor, and he was Castellarisian. He was in Melbourne, the late Dr. Spiro. He was wonderful. And they all knew each other, and I didn't know that. But, you know, they all went to my wedding, so it was kind of really weird.
Yeah, fantastic. What a great story. So consider yourself family, Kale. You're a Kazzie through and through, my dear. We've definitely adopted you. In fact, I might even ask everybody, just put a comment in the chat. We'll have this by the end of tonight, Pella. I'll let you know if it's official with all the Kazies. So just give us a thumbs up or let us know. We're adopting Pella officially by the Castellarisian Association of Victoria. So let us know, guys. Okay, we'll come back to that. Now, listen, we've got so much to get through. I want you to tell everybody, because we are in Melbourne at the moment, and I know we can talk about the Australian Energy Regulator, where you did some amazing work there, building their new SAP system. But I want to focus on the Melbourne Airport and the amazing role that you did there in terms of project management and that whole transformation that for most of us, not only here in Melbourne, but around Australia that have travelled into Melbourne, would have been touched by or have experienced. So tell us a little bit about those projects.
Sure. So I just finished from Gemina doing the SAP project, and Melbourne Airport approached me a few months later and said, we need some help. And I said, okay, well, tell me about the problem, because I need to know what the problem is that you're trying to solve. And they said, well, it's like this. The airport was built for 30 million passengers and we're at 27 million. And I went, okay. And the airport's got to grow and be big enough to take 60 million people. And I went, okay, except we need to do it in the next 2 years and we aren't spending enough capital to actually get it done. So we're supposed to spend 500 million a year and build enough, you know, of the terminals to be able to accommodate the additional people, but we're only spending 125 million a year. So how do we get from 125 million to $500 million a year? I went, okay, all right. So I took on the job, and now you've got, you know, the third runway's being finished design and about to be built. Terminal 4's finished. I remember when it was just a concept. The expansion in the departure halls, the new car parks, the new multi-story car park, the new tri-generation plant, which takes waste disposal and turns it into power. All those projects were part of the project management processes that I put in place and part of the actual plan. And what was really funny is by the time I finished, we were doing 850 million a year. And they said, you better slow down.
Wow, that's remarkable. Remarkable, Pella. Yeah, a real testament to your capabilities and your can-do attitude. You know, I think this is the consistent theme that comes out of your amazing career. Can you tell us a little bit about your time at Government House? Lena wants to know.
Oh, Lena, it was amazing. So another one of those situations where I get a phone call in I think it was just after Christmas one year, and it's the naval poster. They're the people who put you in your jobs. And the naval poster says to me, Pella, the commanders have all got together and put some names in a ring. And then the captains have come in and taken names out and put different names in. And then the commodores have come in and done the same thing. And we come down to 5 names, and yours is one of the 5 names. Okay, and what's this for? So we'd like to know if you'd like to apply to be the aide-de-camp to the governor. And I went, what's that about? And he told me a little bit. He said, but just so you know, a woman's never done the job, so you haven't really got a chance of getting the job. But if you want to put in for it, we'd really like to see your application. I went, okay. All right, thanks for that. When do you need it by? They said Friday. Well, of course, everything's tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll get it into you. And I went, and after he hung up, I rang my dad. I said, Dad, this has happened. And he goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to apply for it, but, you know, I haven't got a good chance of getting it anyway. But I'll apply for it. What have I got to lose? He goes, okay, vale. I go, okay, Dad. So I put the application in, and then like 3 days later, like on the Monday or Tuesday, I get a phone call from the poster going, well, I don't know how this happened, but you've been asked to go in for an interview. Okay, all right. And what's that about? So His Excellency and Mrs. will interview you. Okay, fine. What time do you want me to be there? Okay. Am I wearing uniform or I'm going in civvies? Okay, fine. So I rock up in my white uniform, and I'm sitting in the captain's office waiting to get called in, and then I get called in, and I've learnt all the protocol in the 5 minutes beforehand, and I go in and I sit down after they've sat down, and all of a sudden the dog walks in. She's a Kelpie. They've got this Kelpie dog, Scarlet. Anyway, Scarlet gets up on the couch, and I don't know if you know, but Kelpies shed, and I'm in a white uniform. So she gets up on the couch and she squeezes herself between me and the governor and plonks herself down and puts her head on my knee. And the governor and Mrs. are just looking at me going, I think we've adopted you already. And I thought, oh God, I'm in trouble.
Another adoption.
The dog adopted me. So I go through the interview and thank them and all the rest of it. We say goodbye and off I go. Anyway, come the next few days, I get a phone call, and they tell me that when you know you've got the job, they ring you back and invite you for dinner. So on Friday morning, I get a phone call from Government House asking me to dinner on Saturday night. And I'm going, oh God, I've got the job. So I said to him, thank you very much. But I actually have a prior engagement. Is it okay if I don't come to dinner? But we'll need your answer to the job by Monday morning. Yes, sir, I'll have the answer to the job, whether or not I'll take the job on Monday morning. I spent a whole weekend. I didn't have anywhere else to go to. I couldn't think, Frida. I was just like out of my mind. I wasn't supposed to get this job, and all of a sudden I had the job offer. So I spent the whole weekend on the phone to my parents. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Because I had just finished, and you'll know about this because I just finished all the subjects for my master's, and I still had the thesis to write. And that's like, how many thousands of words. And I just bought an apartment that I just moved into in Sydney. So I just moved in. I had a mortgage. I hadn't finished my thesis. I got this job, and I'm thinking, how am I going to do all of this? Because it's a 24/7 job.
Wow.
So I went in on the Monday morning to say, thank you, but no thank you. And they wouldn't he wouldn't let me leave the captain wouldn't let me leave the office until I spoke to the admiral, which is really cruel and unfair to do to me. It's like I had to tell him to his face. And I walked into the office and he says, we're not listening to whatever you say. We've got it all worked out. How many hours do you need to do your master's thesis? I need about, a few hours a week, sir. And you're going to move in with us permanently for the next 2 years. Don't worry about your house. You can rent it out. You're going to live here with us. You're going to do your master's thesis. And it's all sorted out. And Mrs. Sinclair has already figured out where you're going to stay. We're going to build you an apartment in the house.
Wow.
And that was it.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. We've got a question here now from Yvonne. And I guess this is about, what advice would you give to your younger Greek Australian self, growing up in 2021 with dreams, aspirations, ideals of the world. Yvonne wants to know, what would you say to her and to the younger Pella and to young women of today setting out in life?
There is nothing you can't do. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. You got to do your best, be the best you can be true to yourself. Yes, you'll question yourself. Yes, you'll fail at things, but you know what? Fail fast and move on. Learn. One thing I can honestly say is I've learned something different at every single job. And I've learned stuff that I've gone, oh, that's interesting. And I might never use it again, but that's okay. But learn lots.
Yep.
Be the best you can be. Don't ever give up. And don't let anyone tell you can't do it.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah, you're living proof of that, Pella. Absolutely. And said beautifully, absolutely beautifully.
Thanks.
Pella, I know there is so much, there are so many places that I want to go with you, but I'm mindful of the time. Let us bring you back to where we are today, 2021, and here you are, working for Amazon. I want you to tell everybody how you got that job. And in fact, actually, before we do that, I want people to take a little bit of a guess. Pella's only going to tell you the answer if I see at least 5 responses in the chat. And I want you to have a guess on how she got her role as Director of Infrastructure Operations for Australia and New Zealand for Amazon Web Services. Now, lots of ideas. I'll give you some ideas. Could be, using the Boise network. It's an incredible network, as you've just heard from Pella. Could have been headhunted by a recruitment group or, successfully applying for the role. What do you think? Let's go with a few of the responses. But Pella, I want you to tell us a little bit about your role. And if I see a satisfactory amount of comments coming through, then I'll let you tell everybody, because it's a ripper of a story.
Well, the role's amazing. I've got about 150 staff in Australia at the moment, and I've got I'm building data centers and managing and operating data centers for Amazon Web Services. Now, Amazon Web Services has nearly 40% of the global cloud market. So basically, don't go out and buy all that capital works for servers and stuff. Let us do it for you. We're very good at it. We build products, we build stuff. We basically collaborate with customers who've got issues, problems, concerns, or want something that they're not sure how they're going to get, and we figure out how to get it and do it for them, basically. And it doesn't really matter what it is. It seems to be we can do everything. After all, we've even gone into space, so we can do everything. Yeah,
seriously, you are in the stratosphere at the moment. You are out of this world. And it's so appropriate for you to have that background. Seriously, Pella.
So, everyone knows I'm a bit of a space junkie anyway, so it goes with the territory. So
listen, Maxim Zervos, he reckons that you're the toughest red egg. Lena reckons that that you might have been headhunted into that role. And Yvonne Panagakos, she reckons that you might have met your boss in an informal, setting. So that would have been good. Yeah, the old Jeffo.
Well, yes, I never met my boss in any setting. We've been in COVID for 2 years, guys. No one's been anywhere, so that's not going to happen. But I can tell you, I did meet my prospective bosses for Shell at an Argentinian rugby game against Australia in
There
Sydney.
we go.
And it happened at the rugby game. A friend of mine who I didn't know worked for Shell, he was just a friend, introduced me to these 5 gentlemen, and I managed to get the governor a cup of tea during the intermission, and then went over and had a chat with him, and then the governor got a bit itchy, so I said, thank you very much, nice to meet you, and moved away. And then the next day, Doug rings me and says, do you know who you met? I went, no, it was 5 directors of Shell. I went, oh, great, you could have warned me. And he goes, no, you got a job with us as soon as the governor's finished with you. And I went, I've got a what? But I'm appointed at the governor's pleasure. I don't know when that's going to be. He goes, that doesn't matter. We'll let you know. So literally the Tuesday, on a Tuesday, I don't know why it happens on Tuesdays and Fridays. On Tuesday, they advised the governor was retiring. And I got a phone call on Wednesday from Doug saying, when do you want to start at Shell? I've gone, what? So, but with this job, this was really odd. I was minding my own business. We were building major roads all over Melbourne and Victoria.
Yep.
As you can see from the photos. And I wasn't even looking. I was too busy. So we were doing $10.5 billion worth of roads around the state, and all major roads. And, the Chickamauama Bridge, the second crossing across the Campaspe River. And, the upgrades to Tullamarine Freeway, the upgrades to Monash, M80, all the Western Roads upgrades, the Mordialloc Freeway, the South Gibby Highway, the Princess Highway, you name it, pick a road, we've worked on it. And I was just minding my own business, and someone reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Oh.
And said to me,
there you go, everybody, LinkedIn.
We're from Amazon, we'd like to have a chat. And I said, I'm not in IT, nor am I in commerce. I don't know why you'd want to have a chat with me. They said, that's okay, we just like to connect and, have a chat. Okay, fine. So they had a chat and they said, well, we've got some roles coming up and we'd like to stay in touch. And I said, okay, fine. And then about a month later, they came back and said, we've got this job that we'd like you to think about. And I went, okay. And basically, they said, it's this job, it's a growing job. It's going to have 300 staff by the end of 2022. And we're growing at, I couldn't believe this, we're growing at some phenomenal rate.
Yeah.
20+% a year.
And
they said, you've got the skills for this. And I went, okay, if you think so. And I didn't say anything. But they said, you started off at Major Roads. You had no one in the team. I said, that's right. I had no one in the team, and I built a team to 40. And so I'm running $10 billion worth of work. So they said, you can do this. So I went, okay. And I went through their process, which is very, very different from a normal interview process.
Yeah, Lena's actually got a comment here. She's saying that she's heard that the Amazon recruitment process is quite rigorous.
Really rigorous.
Yeah.
Really intensive and very vigorous. So really rigorous. We had 4 or 5 phone screens, and then they whittled it down to one person who goes through a process called the loop, and the loop is 6 to 8 one-hour interviews based on their leadership principles, behavioural questions, an hour each. So another 8 hours of interviews after that. And then they assess you. And one of those people are a person called a bar raiser. And the bar raiser needs to determine with metrics from your interview and from your questions and answers, whether or not you would increase the capability of Amazon over 50% by you entering the organisation before they'll even give you an offer.
Wow.
And you sit there and you go, wow.
Now listen, Pella, my mate Pat MacGyver, he's too smart. He's got something here. He says, he says built a road to an AWS data center. Is that how you got the job? What's an AWS data center? Pat, help me out here.
The AWS data centers is what I'm building for AWS.
Ah, okay. See, I knew Pat. You're too good, Pat. Okay, so Pat's on the go. Good on you.
He's on the ball.
He's on the ball. Okay. And listen, Evelyn Silvaris wants to know how important it is to have mentors and networking. In terms of being part of your career path.
Super important. most of my coaches and mentors are still coaches and mentors today. So my first coach was at Shell, and I'm still in contact with Mike, and he gives me his wisdom regularly. Then, you know, my mentor at AGL was Tony Beach. I still speak to him regularly. Mm-hmm. My coach at the moment is Lydia Wilson, who's Greek, but you can't tell from the name. She was CEO of Manningham at one stage, CEO of a couple of different councils. She's wonderful. So she's my mentor at the moment. It's super important to get someone else's perspective. Lydia is constantly telling me to let things go. Let it go. It's okay. Don't overthink it and let it go. Yeah. So I've learned a lot from each of them, all different, and for different stages of your life, your mentors give you different advice, and it's really super important. And I know I've never been really good at the networking. And I've got better over the years, but that is vitally important. So the statistics are nearly 80% of jobs comes through networking. 20% of jobs are only advertised. So if you want to favour Mr. Pareto, Lena, your favourite Italian, Pareto, and the economics of 80-20 rule, yeah, so you need to network or you won't get the jobs that are never advertised.
Yeah. So do you find that you have mentors for different aspects of what you want to do?
Yeah, so one of my other mentors is Peter Tanner of Tanner Menzies. So the reason I know Peter Tanner is because Peter was a warrant officer rider in the Navy, and we've been in contact with each other for nearly 35 years. So, amazing. And I keep ringing him every so often, and he'll give me advice, and we talk about stuff, and we talk about the job market and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's really important for different things.
Okay, Pella, so we're almost, we're amongst Patriotes here. So any last thoughts that you may have for us? You know, Kazzie's, other Greek Australians and Philhellenes that are listening here tonight. Are there any parting words that you want to leave us with?
So see the name tag? They tell me they ran out of gold tape to make it on my jacket because there's that many letters. So let me tell you, name is never a barrier. Gender is never a barrier. Education is the biggest barrier. The more you can learn, the better off you are. I think that's really important. But also to stop and smell the roses. One of my bosses at Shell used to say to me, Pella, you've got to stop and smell the roses. If you don't, it's a waste of your time. And definitely don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Let things go. But Doug Hyde, the guy who introduced me to the Shell directors, used to say to me, you know, you've got to, work-life balance is different at different stages of your life. It's not the same. So don't think that it's exactly one size fits all or one recipe or one formula. You've got to, it's got to go. But don't ever forget who you are. I love being Greek. I love being Cretan. I love my Cretan dancing. I absolutely adore it when I do it. Got lots of Cretan musician uncles, so that is very helpful, but don't ever forget where you've come from.
Yeah, great way to finish our session today, Pella. And you know what, listen, sister, I'll see you on the dance floor, Averfid. Don't you worry about that anytime, especially now that we've adopted you as one of our own. So look, Pella, thank you so much for a wonderful conversation. It really has been you've made the hour just fly. You know, from our part, the Castelrusian Association of Victoria, us as Castelrusians have this ethos of faith, hope and charity. And you certainly have woven those three ideals into your words, and you've shown us the impact that they have had not only on your lives, but also in the life of others that you have served. So look, Pella, on behalf of Nick Spartels, our president of the Castelrusian Association Victoria Committee, and our members and guests here with us tonight, I'd like to sincerely thank you for your service to our country and for taking the time from your very, very busy schedule to be with us tonight. It certainly has been a great pleasure and an honour. And with that, I'll pass back to Lena. Thank you, Lena.
Thank you, Frida, and thank you, Pella. I know for me tonight has been absolutely wonderful, and the things that I've taken away, I loved it, Pella, when you said fail first and move on. I'm going to use that throughout what I'm doing. I've learnt that tonight. And for those starting out in their career, I think the things that you can grasp onto is that absolutely mentors are very important in your career at different stages. Networking absolutely essential, and that 80-20 rule. I was a headhunter for many years, and I do know that it's actually 90% of those jobs are not advertised. And also, it's really interesting that with LinkedIn, that is such a powerful tool. And for anybody out there that gets a message from someone, don't ignore it, because you just don't know what's behind it, as I think what you've demonstrated tonight, Pella. So from us at the KAV, I want to thank you, Pella, and you're very gracious always. And I know I rang you out of the blue, but thank you so much for participating tonight. But also I want to give a big thank you to all you tonight that have taken the time to participate. It's our 9th Kazzie Connect, and I want to say that I want to thank the committee for having the faith in me when I first presented doing Kazzie Connect about keeping us all connected. And thank you for your support, and also the KAV members and our friends for their support over the year in presenting this. And I know that everybody's been inundated with Zoom meetings. So to take time out to, connect with our fellow people out there in our community has been fantastic. I know I've enjoyed putting it together for you, and it's been my absolute pleasure to do it. So I'll close off now and say thank you, Pella, and Frida, you did an absolutely wonderful job. Of course, I taught you everything you know, didn't I, Frida? So look, thank you very much, everybody. And Kazzie Connect is always in the spirit of keeping everybody connected. And what we do now is, for those that have want to ask a few questions, I think we've got, yes, a couple of minutes time to do that. And then after that, I'll hand over where people can talk to each other and connect with friends and Kazzies and alike. So thank you very much, Pella. Thank you, Frida. And I'll say good night. Thank you very much.
Okay, Pella, so it's at this stage where we get all the questions so that we don't get them all at once. I think you need to tell us how many people have been onboarded into Amazon since the last 2 months. Should we make it a quiz question and ask other people?
Yeah, why don't we?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good
in the first, I know the number for the first, so 3 weeks after I started, I know the number. So
okay.
How about we say how many people joined Amazon in the 3 weeks after I joined?
Okay, in the 3 weeks after Pella has joined, and please, if you're a member of the KAV committee, you can't answer. But everybody else, we're up for ideas. Okay, here we go. Here we go. George Virginis, you're very quiet tonight. Pick a number, any number. Evelyn, any number. John, my cousin John Adjumant.
Everybody, you can unmute yourselves.
Okay, I'll start it off. Could it be 5,000? No, that's too low. Could it be 10,000? Adriana, give it a go. Oh, 1,000 from Yvonne. Oh, what are we going to tell Yvonne? Yvonne, you're a bit on the low side. Bit on the low side. Okay, Lena says go up higher. Okay, how about the Spartels? Come on, Diane. Maria, got any ideas?
She wasn't listening.
No, she wasn't listening. Sandra. Jasmine Virginis, any ideas? Come on, throw some numbers.
Global.
Think global, big numbers. Let's go. We can do this. 5,000. Yvonne, you might have to, big hint here for Yvonne. Yvonne, a few more zeros.
320,000.
320,000, says George Virginis. George,
Correct.
you are bold. You're one bold
Someone's
man.
got one there, 50,000.
Yeah.
50,000, 500,000 from Adriana. Jeez.
This is like an auction, Frida.
Yeah, national numbers. No, oh, yeah, sorry. Global, Evelyn. Global numbers.
Angosmio.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
look, they've kind of taken the buzz out of it now. 1 million. 3 million.
Okay, so let me give you some context. Globally, Amazon has 1.3 million people in the organization. How many joined in the 3 weeks after I joined?
I know, so I can't say. So there you go.
Yeah, you can't, Lena. No. And Nick,
No, I know. So
Nick, take that smile off your face. You can't say anything either.
no, I'm not saying anything.
And Peter can't.
Can I ask a
I think
question?
you just tell them. Okay, George, yeah.
Did they decrease or increase in numbers?
Oh, they increased in numbers. The attrition rate is less than 6%.
It's an unbelievable number, George. I think we just tell them, Pella. Sorry
Hey,
about that.
Timmy.
We're a bit flat because we haven't eaten yet. We're
Hey,
just about to
Timmy.
eat our meals.
Okay, for those who speak Greek, 175,000 άτομα σε 3 εβδομάδες.
Jesus.
Και τώρα μπορείτε να φάτε το κατομάρι σας. You can have the katomaria now.
175,000 people joined Amazon 3 weeks after me.
Is that amazing?
Because of you?
The half Greeks, were they?
After me.
How many Greeks?
Because of you.
I met one yesterday.
Hella, how many Greeks?
Oh, so many Greeks. I can't believe it. I've got quite a few Greeks even in my team.
Wow.
Right. But I've got the United Nations. I've got Polish. I've got Russian. I've got Greek. I've got Thai. I've got Vietnamese. I've got Chinese. I've got English. I've got Irish. I've got Scottish. I've got New Zealanders. I've got Americans. Don't forget the Americans. I've got Spanish. I've got South Americans as well.
Got the League of Nations.
I do. I'm Cosmio. It's like I have the UN in my team. Easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I met a chap up in Canberra, a Greek chap, and he was an ex-naval engineer. His job was to make sure that the weight was right for submarines.
Yes.
Michael, his name was, and it was crucial that his calculations was quite, as I said, quite useful, because as you go down, he said, it's got to be able to come up again.
Correct.
And he worked for the Navy, I believe. He's retired. Does he still do?
Freelancers, yeah.
So yeah, I've worked on a couple of submarines. They're very, very crowded, very polystena.
Yes.
Like crazy. And what's really strange is the tallest men were always submariners. I never understood that. They volunteer for service in submarine corps, and it was always the tallest guys who seemed to want to join the submarine corps, but they get paid better than everyone else. But everything smells of diesel. Clothes smell of diesel, hair smells of diesel, socks and shoes smell of diesel, everything smells of diesel. But not anymore, because we're going nuclear.
And did you go down in one of those submarines?
No, I never went down on a submarine, but Peter and Shirley Sinclair, the governor and Mrs. Sinclair, their son was the first captain of the Collins submarine.
Collins
so he took them for the first submerging test. And I can remember Mrs. Sinclair being very, very nervous all day that day because they didn't know if it was going to surface. So, you know, she was waiting for that phone call at the end of the day, hoping like crazy that her son was okay. And he used to talk to me quite regularly about, should we let women into the submarine corps? And I used to say to him, yeah, as long as they do the same test the boys do, that's fine. And so what did they do? They got rid of the test.
Yeah. Well, that's what his job was, to make sure that the submarine came up again.
And that's
what
about
a job.
Yeah, and that's about releasing the air and making sure that you surface at the right speed and at the right angle.
Well, we've got a question from George Virginis. Hi, George.
May I ask 2 questions? why do your children learn 3 languages? And can you tell me what the Pro Typo Greek Centre is all about?
Certainly. So, Protipo is a Greek school, a community language school, privately run by Dr. Maria Gendidis, who's the senior lecturer and about to become associate professor at Monash University in education. She is a dual-speaking, bilingual Australian-born Greek, one of the smartest women I've ever met. She's got a doctorate in education. She teaches and researches into how people acquire second and third languages and how easily they can be acquired. So she has the Greek school, she runs it. There's about 600 students on one campus during the week, from 3-year-old to VCE. And I was teaching there for nearly 17 years. So it's a great school, I love it. My daughter went there. That's Protipo Greek school, and it's in Oakley, centres out of Oakley Primary School. As for why do my children learn multiple languages? Firstly, languages have a couple of aspects to them. One, they're mathematical. 2, they're rhythmical, so they're musical. So they're about patterns, linguistics patterns, natural acquisition. Once you've learned a second language, you can learn a third and a fourth much, much easier. And all our friends who are from Alexandria and Egypt who are Greek-based will know that, because they used to speak 7 languages. They used to learn a different language every day of the week.
Right.
But why is it important? One, if you understand another language, you have to learn about their culture to understand and be able to speak their language properly, because it's about context and congruity, how you bring the language together, and the grammar. So that's super important, because once you understand a culture, you not just tolerate the culture, you understand the context of what makes those human beings tick, how they think, how they work, what drives them, what motivates them. And so once you understand that, then war is much, much harder.
Thank you.
It keeps the peace much better.
Yeah, indeed. And I think, you know, Pella, particularly today, that intercultural understanding is really what's greatly needed, you know, particularly now as we have such differences, not only cultural differences, but views in totality. It makes it even more important for us to appreciate and understand other perspectives, and other cultures are a great part of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I studied several languages at school. I'm not fluent in anything other than Greek these days, but I can still make myself understood. And having the United Nations, I can start practicing all those languages again. So it's kind of good.
Of course you can. Hey, should we give the last question to Adriana? Adriana, you've come along tonight. How old are you? And why did you want to come tonight?
Well, hello, everyone. I'm 25.
25, okay.
Yes. I'm actually from the Greek Herald. So I'm here to learn about Pelagia. And yeah, I think I've had so much fun. It's been great to hear all about you and your career. And I just love how I find throughout all your stories, you're always going back to how I've gone to speak to my parents about my decisions, because I'm like that as well. I always go, if something big happens in my life, I go straight to my parents. I'm like, what do you think I should do? You know, and I think that's really nice. I resonate with that. I don't know.
Your parents are super important. You only get one set.
Agreed.
That's another Kazzie trait.
Yeah.
See, Adriana, we might have to adopt you as well.
I'm a Samian, but all good. I'm happy to be adopted.
I have an aunt who's Samian.
No, that's good.
Pella, I want to ask you another question. We were talking about recruitment, those sorts of things. However, I think we talked about it when we first met, in that the actual way, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the actual way the Navy looks at a resume is very different to what the general population does. I found that fascinating, because I think that that's something that should be adopted universally, because resumes haven't changed in 50 years. So tell us a bit about that, because that's really interesting how one would present oneself for a role.
So the Navy has an interview process. So to join as an officer, you have to have done a degree first, or be doing a degree, or do a degree through them. So you have to go through what's called an officer's board. And you go through a bunch of psychological tests as well with the psychologist, and you get interviews and all sorts of things. And then you sit this board, and you have to know about the branch you're going to actually join. So you actually have to go and find out the information. And they believe that that's super important, because that shows you're engaged and interested, but also it shows your ability to explore, to be curious, to learn. So it's super important. Once you get into the Navy, the structure is quite disciplined. So, you know, you can go and pick up all these different roles, and every 2 to 3 years you change roles and you change jobs, and so you start again each time. And you might not know anybody who's in that department when you join them, and they could send you anywhere in the world at that time. But when you go to a ship at sea, you might not know a single soul on that ship when you join it. And there's 200 people, 150 to 200 people on that ship, and you're there as part of that whole process. So one of the things that the Navy wants you to do is, if you're an officer, you're not just your technical capability. It's not just about your ability to do your engineering job. You actually have to be a divisional officer. And the divisional system is about the welfare and taking care of your people. Because if you don't take care of your people, you can't do the job. And it's not like I can just get another one off the shore because I'm in the middle of the ocean. So I need to make sure my people are healthy, they're eating properly, they're sleeping right, they're psychologically, everything is good, you know, that they get enough time off, that they exercise, that they eat properly. So it's about the holistic person. If I want to get the best out of the person, my job as a leader is to bring out their strengths. That's my job. My other job as a leader is to tell them where we're going, how we're going to get there, and what their role is in it. That's it. It's really simple. And for me, that's why I love the Amazon leadership principles. There are 18 of them. They all resonate, every single one of them, with me. My most favorite one is learn and be curious.
Well, the interesting thing is, I get what you're saying there for the Navy, and I really get it for Amazon, but how did it translate, knowing there's several, you know, bureaucracy in government? How did that work for you?
Oh, patience, and trying to figure out how to unblock things if they're blocked, or how to get things done, use the systems to their best advantage. And sometimes there's going to be slow. I mean, I had one project that we put up several years ago, and I waited 2.5 years to get approval to do it, and it was the least expensive project on the budget, and I still couldn't get approval for it. But you know, at one stage I said to my CEO, when do we give up? When do we give up the fight? Because, you know, if you're not going to win that battle, then you go to another battlefront. That's what I'm used to. You go to a different battlefront, you change the dynamics, and then eventually you might win the war. But if you stick to that battlefront and you're constantly losing, you're not going anywhere. You're not moving forward. So I said to him, so when do we give up? Or when do we change tactics? He said, we never change tactics, and we're not going to give up. And in the end, we put the project in just before I left.
That's wonderful.
It really does seem that there's a constant there throughout your whole career, though, Pella, in terms of the Navy having set you up to, you know, have this understanding of criticalness and what needs to be done by whom and when, and for a job to be able to be done satisfactorily to its completion, you need to follow a process. And it seems to me that listening to you again tonight, you really seem to be very systems and process oriented, knowing what needs to be done. And okay, I don't know what to do, but let me work out how it's going to happen.
Yep. How do I get to the outcome and work backwards? Which is really interesting, because you know where you need to go. You just need to figure out, you know where you are, then you've got to figure out what's the best way to get there. And I think that's leadership. It's like getting people on the same bus to go to the same destination and the same bus route. You can't go on different bus routes and hope to get to the same destination. Yeah. So similar sort of concept. But yeah, the military actually teaches you to systems think, to be a systems thinker. You need to think of it as a whole, not as just your little bit, your silo. Because if you don't think about the interactions. You don't know which levers to pull, which ones are actually stopping you, which ones are letting you go, which ones are too fast, which ones are too quick, too slow. You actually need to look at it holistically. And I think the Navy and the military does that really, really well, because people say, oh, you know, you just bark orders. Well, I don't remember giving an order in my life except in a crisis.
It's obvious it teaches a lot of self-discipline too, being in the Navy.
Yes.
It's got a lot to do with it, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I'm very disciplined. If I have to do something, even things I hate doing, I know I have to do them, so I'm going to do them.
Yes.
Pella, can I ask a question, possibly? I don't know if you can hear me. Yes?
This is Yvonne Penagakos. Yvonne, yeah.
Thank you, Pella, and thank you to you, Frida. I think you've done a wonderful job. Pella, the classical question is always, here's a woman who's achieved amazing things, outstanding educational background, leadership, and so on. You always also have a family. The classical question is, how did you manage to achieve success in all fronts at the same time? What is your secret to success?
There's no secret. It's called collaboration, right? My husband and I are a partnership. What I can't do, he does. What he can't do, I do. And it's a coordination. So it's funny, in the mornings, I'll get up and say, I'll put the washing on, and go, I'll put the drying on when you're finished. You know, if I'm boiling the kettle, he says, I've boiled the kettle, and I go, oh, I've boiled the kettle. You know, it's done. They're not waiting for me to feed them when I come home either. I was very lucky. Mum and Dad were great. You know, when Lizzie was at school, they would pick her up from school. I would drop her at their house. They would drop her at school, pick her up from school, and we'd pick her up from there. So, you know, it's about coordination, and it's about not leaving the child by themselves. But, you know, my mum would talk to her. So she says that Yaya brought her up as much as Mum and Dad did. So she loves my parents. Well, my dad's since passed away, but she loves my mum. She calls, you know, she calls Noj Mama, which is the other grandmother. So Noj Mama is the Hungarian word for Yaya. So she calls Noj Mama. So she has a Noj Mama and a Yaya, and she calls each of them regularly. And I speak to Lizzie every day. And if she is not speaking because she's working, she'll text me, or she'll be in a class or whatever. So I think it's about talking to each other and having honest conversations and being upfront. And it's really important for them not to be scared of you. So Lizzie, I don't think Lizzie has ever been frightened of us. I always told her to be honest, to have integrity and honour in the way she approaches things. And nothing is too hard, and we can solve anything. It doesn't matter what it is, there's always a solution. And also for her to make decisions, easy decisions as she was growing up. So she was comfortable in making decisions, because as she got older, of course, the decisions become more difficult and become more risky. So having that background, I think, also helps. So am I successful at it? There's no book, so we can't really measure that. And really, it's about what's best for each individual child. And I don't believe in competition. So, which is a bit strange, I know, but I believe you should only compete against yourself. Your benchmark is yourself. No, it's not a competition with anybody else. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I'm going to do what's right for me, and I'm going to do what's right for those around me, and I'm going to measure myself against myself. Have I improved? Have I got better? Have I learned something? And Lizzie's got that too, which is great. And Stephen's got it too. My husband's Hungarian.
Good, thank you.
I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But
There's no recipe.
But don't they say, Pella, behind every successful woman is a strong man?
Yeah, behind every strong man is a
man.
successful woman. It's exactly the same. Yeah.
That's right. Well, listen, our Kazzie boys here, our Kazzie blokes can take a leaf out of his book, I think. Being there as a support for a woman. I think we can all take something from that.
Nick, am I allowed to say what I said earlier?
Whatever you like, I'm staying out of it.
Okay. So Nick said to me, "Where is my husband?" And I said, "He's cooking dinner." And he said to me, "Oh, don't say that." I said, "My husband cooks, cleans, washes, irons."
Yeah. I hope my wife's not listening.
But you see, if I don't get time to do it, he'll do it. If he doesn't get time to do it, I'll do it. It's about working together. And it's also about doing what's your strengths. Yes, I can clean a house. Yes, I can cook. Yes, I can wash. Yes, I can iron. Do I want to do it? Absolutely not, because I've got better and more important things I want to do. And, you know, I want to learn more. I want to do more work. Yes, I know it's bad, but I've got to do more work. So yeah, it's about making sure that everyone's working to their strengths.
Lena.
Hello.
Everybody, I'd love this to go on further. I know that Pella's got time, and I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Carolyn Schofield for the work that she's done over the last 9 months, because she's actually the mechanics behind all this that gets everything running smoothly. So I want to, Carolyn, I don't know if you can show your face. Where are you, Carolyn? So we want to give her a hand and say thank you.
Very well. Very well.
Thanks, Carolyn. She does a terrific job for us. And apart from that, she does a lot of work for a lot of the other committee members as well, and makes us all look good. So, Carol, I wanted to thank you from me, because I know I drive you nuts, but and on behalf of the committee and the Kazzie community and everybody. But for tonight, I'm going to wrap it up. Pella, it was wonderful having you. Frida, you did an absolutely wonderful job. And I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for participating, and we hope to see you in 2022, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. It was lovely to meet you all.
Well done. Thank you very much for what you've done this year for us during COVID. We really appreciate it, and I know the committee have supported you, and it's been a great idea to keep everyone connected. And you know, look, I'm very proud of you being involved and having you on by our side, because your vision was unbelievable and how you carried it out. So well done. And Frida, thank you very much for taking over tonight and giving me a bit of a rest. I appreciate that. And Pella, I can't believe what you've achieved in your life so far, and what I'd love to be around to see what you're going to achieve in your future. You obviously got a lot of talent, and I loved it how one thing you said, in life, you've got to prove it to yourself and no one else. And to me, that's a great philosophy. And, you know, we're very proud to see, obviously, not just the Kazzie succeed in life, but to see our fellow Greeks succeed. And I thank you so much for your time tonight, and absolute credit to you. Well done.
Thank you, but I still want to be an astronaut when I grow up.
That's all right. Well, you're going to have to come to our next function too. All right? We'll have to get you down to the next function and convert you.
Absolutely. So a round of applause for Pella, and thank you very much for your...
Thank you, guys. It's been an honour.
And good luck with Amazon.
Thank you.
Good luck with Amazon. All the best, Pella. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Look after yourselves.